You're listening to Witch Wednesdays, your weekly podcast source for all things witchcraft in the modern world. Welcome back to Witch Wednesdays. I'm Steph, and you are listening to Cleansing Without Smoke. This is a highly requested topic. We did have an episode about cleansing and specifically how to do a home cleanse. And that involved smoke, although we did talk about other methods during that episode. But it was primarily home-focused rather than including objects. So this episode is going to chat about cleansing without using smoke and also how that applies to cleansing various objects, not just cleansing your home. First up, I wanted to mention smoke cleansing because some of the hesitation surrounding that is surrounding using sage, certain types of sage might be part of a closed practice, might be protected, and some people just don't like sage. So I wanted to, before we jump into the other methods, is to just touch on the fact that smoke cleansing can be done with other herbs. So if your hesitation is related to sage only, you can also burn lavender, rosemary, pine. There are a lot of different options. You can make bundles that include all of these different herbs and burn those instead, and they would each have their own cleansing properties. So you absolutely could do that to both cleanse your home, and you would use that smoke around an item to cleanse that item. Fire energy is another way to cleanse, and that is using a candle or by using tea light. You can put some herbs on top, either to draw in the negative energies to burn away or to repel the negative energies out. But again, this may be in the same realm for some people as smoke, because a lot of the two are tied together, that if you can't do a smoke cleansing, it's because you can't burn something. There are a lot of rules in certain dorm rooms, apartments, that you cannot use candles. So burning something would be a problem as well. So now with those two out of the way, I can get into some of the other options for both active and passive cleansers. Active means that you need to tend to it, and it's something that requires motion and energy on your part, whereas passive is something that you can kind of set and forget, and it either collects the negative energy or dispels the negative energy while you're not tending to it at all. The first method that I wanted to talk about is incense and resin, because most people think of incense and resin as something that you have to burn, but you can still use these things without smoke and without lighting them. Incense and resins repel energy, and you can have it in dishes or bags just for the scent, because you can have just loose incense. You can also use an oil warmer or heater, so you can get the fragrance, which is really what you're going for here, without the smoke. In that case, those would still be safe to use in a dorm room or apartment where you're not allowed to burn things. In order to use those, you would just pick an incense or resin that the scent is related to what the type of negative energy that you want to repel. So there are some incenses that are much stronger and will repel every kind of energy and completely cleanse the space or an item and get rid of every type of energy. And there are some that are specifically dedicated towards negative energy. And even further, there are some that will get rid of the negative energy of bad career decisions, about losing money, about negative feelings in love. There are a lot of specific incenses that you can pick for that. And again, this type of cleansing is something that repels the energy. So this is a passive cleanser where you would have just the scent in a room repelling the type of energy that you don't want. A related item that is very popular is the use of oils. And you would use that same oil warmer for sending a scent around a room or around an item. They can also be added to vinegar and water, maybe a couple other ingredients to make different home cleansers, which is very common these days and not necessarily witchy. So that's a great use of them if you are still in the broom closet, that you would be able to add those different essential oils to your cleaning products and do a magical cleansing and protection of your home or of your various witchy tools that you're trying to cleanse. And nobody would really know that you are doing that for magical purposes, because lots of people make their own non-toxic cleaners today. Oils themselves, for their particular sense, would be considered a passive cleaner to repel energy. But if you are doing the work of, physically cleansing your home or cleansing an item with those cleansers that you just made, that would be a form of active cleansing. Salt is another very popular way to cleanse both your home and specific items. Salt draws in negative energy, so it is a passive cleanser, and it's one that needs to be changed out since it draws it in and it holds it, so then you have to get rid of that, give it someplace to go. I do have to say, with both oils and with salt, to be careful around pets and animals. Oils and incense, if you can smell it, obviously your pets can smell it and they can smell it a lot more. And some can be hazardous, so just be careful with those. Make sure you check, just a quick Google search to make sure that they are not harmful to your pets before using them. And salt, just like a salt lick that they put out in pastures for animals, it's very popular. Animals love salt, but animals cannot control their salt intake, so they will just keep licking and get too much. And that is very toxic. That can kill them. So you want to be very careful with salt around your animals, especially if you have cats that jump up on things and will get into your salt dishes. Don't want that. But you can place salt near doors and high traffic areas in order to cleanse your home. So it would draw in all that negative energy from anyone passing through those doorways and other high traffic areas. You can also add in specific herbs. This is something that I do. I have salt protection bowls for my home, and I add in various herbs for whatever my intention is for that space or that area in my home or that time of year. If you do this method, you are going to want to change the salt out, and how often depends on how you feel the energy is going. Some people will change it out every week, especially if you have a lot of people coming through your house. For me, since it's just me and my husband and my dog, and we aren't really having anyone over, due to the COVID situation, it's relatively quiet in our house, not a lot of people coming and going. I am able to wait about a month before I need to change out that salt and get rid of the other herbs and things that are in the bowl. And I usually just wash salt down the sink because, again, if you put it out in nature, animals will get into it. And if you have too much salt and you try to spread that someplace where there is plants, it will kill the plant life. So I usually just wash salt down the sink. You can also do what's called a salt sweep, and that is where you would sprinkle the salt on your carpet and just vacuum it up. And in this way, that salt is collecting all of that negative energy and you are vacuuming it and getting it out of your space. In order to cleanse items with salt, you would just place the item within a bowl of salt and cover it with the salt, and then leave the item in the salt for at least 20 minutes and up to 2 days. Make sure your item is completely dry before doing this, and make sure that the item that you're putting in there is not going to have some sort of reaction to the salt, and it's going to be safe to be in there for that long. Any kind of salt is fine, table salt, Epsom salt, sea salt. And then, of course, after you cleanse an item in salt, you need to get rid of that salt as well. It can't be reused. Along with that same idea of burying an item in salt, burying in general is popular, and 2 other ways that you can cleanse an item with burying is with soil and with rice. So, of course, you know how rice works. If you get your phone wet, you put it in rice to draw out the moisture. So you can use the rice in a similar way to cleanse an object. It's going to draw in any of the energy that you want cleared out of that object. And you can also bury things in soil in a potted plant or outdoors and let it sit there for at least 20 minutes or up to 2 days to cleanse it. But if you are going to use soil, make sure your item is either wrapped in something or is something that cannot be damaged by water. There are other ways to do what's called those sweeps besides salt, and that would be using any herb or powder that has cleansing, purifying properties, and you can sprinkle that on your carpet and vacuum that up as well. So that is those are just called sweeps, even though you're not actually sweeping anything, you're using a vacuum. But that would be another way to clear out the energy of your home. And this was mentioned in the house cleansing episode, but you can always use a besom, which is a ceremonial broom. That's the bristles don't touch the floor, and you would use that to sweep the energy out of your home. Again, outlined in that episode of exactly how to do that, but that is another option. And they have very small besoms that you can have on your altar, which would be a great way to sweep away the energies that are collected on your altar or within any of the tools on your altar. You can also use a small besom to clear those out. Of course, water is very popular in the form of room sprays, washes, lots of different options for using water. You can use sun or moon water. We've talked before about how to make moon water, and you would make sun water in the very same way. And you can use that to add to any sort of cleansers or floor washes and physically wash your home with those items. You can also use crystal infused water, herb water, or essential oil water. Those would all work the same. And you can use those both to cleanse your floors, but in small doses. You can also use them to cleanse items. Again, if your item, such as your crystal, doesn't react with water, you don't want it to dissolve. Another popular way to use water for cleansing, of course, is ritual baths and showers, which are the best way to cleanse any energy that is stuck to your person. So let's get into a few of the other ways that you can cleanse smaller items rather than your whole home. But first, we have a message from a sponsor. I want to take just a minute to thank today's sponsor, who I am sure you know, Ana Luisa. Ana Luisa, which is spelled Analuisa, is a jewelry company that offers high-quality pieces at affordable prices starting at just $39. And right now, you can even get an additional 10% off of those prices with the code witchwednesdays, all one word. I know you've heard of them before because so many witches that I know have their pieces. That's how I first heard about the company. Possibly it is because the company is carbon neutral from packaging to products, which is great for a witch to support that type of business because we are so connected to nature. So that is a very important aspect. But probably also because enchanting jewelry is one of the simplest yet most effective forms of practice, which is great for witches both in and out of the broom closet because nobody has to know that you have magically enchanted your jewelry that you're wearing with any sort of specific intention. I picked out a beautiful gold wavy ring from Ana Luisa and enchanted it with protection properties, and I've worn it every single day since I have gotten it. I have a Patreon post all about this if you're curious to see exactly how it's done and also see the ring in action in video format. You can also head over to my Instagram at Witch Wednesdays Podcast to see exactly which other pieces I picked and what the craftsmanship looks like. I have 2 necklaces and a bracelet to show off. So if you want to go check out Ana Luisa Jewelry, with new collections being released every Friday, I will have the link in the show notes and over at witchwednesdays.com. And don't forget, you can also get that 10% off your order with the code witchwednesdays. Back to the episode. One very popular way is by using crystals. So even if the item you're trying to cleanse is a crystal, you can use other crystals to cleanse it. Usually the cleansing crystals are quartz, obsidian, and black tourmaline, but there are other ones that you could possibly use. And like salt, they draw in the energy, so they are a passive cleanser. And that means that they will eventually need to be cleansed themselves. So you would have to use one of these other methods once your quartz or obsidian is full of that energy and it's not really doing its job anymore to collect any negative energy, then you need to choose one of these other methods to cleanse that out. You obviously can use them in a space to clear the room of any negative energies, and you would just place them around your home. That's very popular, but they can be specifically used to cleanse other items. You would just need to make sure that your crystal is clean itself, and then place the other item that you're trying to clean next to or on top of the crystal that you're using for 1 or 2 days. You could also use a pendulum. Crystal pendulums are great for this, but any type will work. And you just hold your pendulum above the item you're trying to cleanse, and the pendulum will rotate counterclockwise or move up and down, left to right, depending on your pendulum and how it designates no. And when it's done cleaning, it will move in the opposite direction. So all you have to do is just hold it there and wait for it to say yes, that the item is cleansed. A method that I think is gaining in popularity is using sound. So this is the idea of using vibrational frequencies to disrupt the energy and then be able to cleanse it from there. So this can be done in a space to cleanse a space or around an item to cleanse the item. And in fact, this sort of vibrational thing is how jewelers cleanse jewelry. So that's kind of fun. But you can use a bell, your voice, clapping, drums, crystal water glass, various other instruments, or you can find a sound on YouTube. There are specifically videos for this to create this vibrational frequency to disrupt whatever is going on and cleanse the space. So a lot of different ways to use sounds, but I think bells are probably one of the most popular. And in the case of cleansing a smaller item, you would just, do the clapping or use the bell to move in a counterclockwise direction around the item that you are trying to cleanse, just making noise all around that item. Related to this vibrational energy, you can also use lightning. You can place the items you're trying to cleanse in a bowl and place the container outside on the ground before an oncoming storm. The water and lightning hitting the ground will send out vibrations to your bowl and cleanse the items that are in there. But of course, safety first. Do this before the storm, not during the storm. Do not go out there during it. And don't use any items that, of course, would be damaged by any water or lightning striking them. You can, of course, use the sun and the moon. I talked about making sun and moon water, but those different celestial bodies can also cleanse items themselves. So you can leave a crystal or athame out in the moon or sun to cleanse that item before use. Another way to cleanse items is through the use of symbols, runes, or sigils. And there's a whole, episode on runes and sigils, but you can draw them to, fit just about any situation. And cleansing is one of those situations that you can make a sigil specifically for cleansing and simply place the object on top of that sigil in order to cleanse the object. I also wanted to touch on light and air. This comes up a lot, especially in home cleansing, when it's spring and you always open all the windows to get the breeze in, to get the light in. And there is something to be said about both of those things as being very cleansing and having a cleansing breeze go over your items. I do find that both of these things, sunlight notwithstanding, but I mean like a passive light coming through the window. I find that both of these things are not as strong of cleansers, so they might do good in a pinch, but I usually have to use them alongside another type of cleansing just because it's not strong enough to last on its own. And of course, I have to mention the last way you don't actually need anything. You can just use visualization and intention setting, where you hold the item in your hand and imagine all the negativity being washed away by your intention. Visualize a white light surrounding the item and do this for a few minutes until your item feels energetically lighter or cleaner. So you don't always have to use one of these other options or use tools. You can rely solely on your own energy manipulation to cleanse an item. So those are all the various ways that I had to share. If you have any others, please let me know in the comments or over on Discord. I'm sure there's other ways to cleanse your home and cleanse an item, especially that do not involve smoke bundles. So if you'd like to share any of those, I am open to all new ideas. And that is all I have for you this week for this shorter episode, but I think that's because there's been a couple of long ones in here, so giving you a little break this week. So if you have any questions about cleansing without smoke, please let me know, and I will see you next week. And that is everything that I have for you this week. Thanks again for being here. Don't forget to check out Ana Luisa Jewelry using the link in the show notes, which is shop.analuisa.com/witchwednesdays, and use the code witchwednesdays to get 10% off of your order. And I will see you next week. Need even more? Subscribe to Patreon and YouTube for exclusive bonus content. Order a themed witchcraft box every month through Witch Wednesdays on Etsy. Be sure to follow on Instagram at Witch Wednesdays Podcast. Find all these links and more at witchwednesdays.com.